Hi, and welcome to another Rigonomicon rigging topic. Today, we're going to be talking about setting up creating a facial setup that's easy to use and easy to set up, and also just functional, like an MVP for the face, basically. So the first thing you need to understand before we start is some basic concepts. Um, so, for example, there's a difference between FACS, FACS, facial acting coding system, and Visemes. Um, so when you're watching a modern movie with really high quality and realistic facial animation, their chances are they're using a fax system. This was developed by Paul Ekman for other reasons other than animation, and it's a very accurate way of measuring certain things that the face does, and it's great for us in animation to be able to use it to be able to simulate facial expressions and speech. And the results are, like, just think of Thanos in those Marvel movies. It was pretty good. Visemes, for example, is more for the old Disney films or the Warner Brother films. So Visemes gets confused with phonemes very easily. So the difference between the two is that a phoneme is based on an old Phoenician system designed to be able to understand each other through different languages, in different languages, and write it down so that you can actually pronounce the words from another language. So, for example, if you look up a word in the dictionary, or on Wikipedia, or even just look up any words, you'll always find that there's a phonetic spelling of it to help you pronounce the word. And that concept is for the actual sounds that we make when we speak and say a word. And for animation, we're not really interested in phonetics and phonemes necessarily, because when you speak, you visually do not spell out every single syllable that you do not speak like a robot, where every syllable is clearly defined. So all you need to do is grab a mirror, put it in front of your mouth, and start saying a few words, and you'll realize that phonemes, even though for sound makes sense, for when it comes to actually animating a character speaking, you don't actually do all of the phonemes. So we came up with this term, which is visemes, which means a visual phoneme. Um, and the idea is and this is something that's been around for a very long time. The old movies, they knew this, and they broke it down to some basic shapes. The picture on the right is actually from the animator's survival kit. If you don't have it or haven't seen it, please look into it, because there's still a lot of golden gems. There's a lot of nice things in that book for animation. It's still pertinent today, and you can animate cartoony characters really well using this method. Just think of it this way: do you remember watching those old films and thinking the lip sync is terrible? No, you didn't think about it. It was really right on the money. It was Everything worked. There was no lip sync issues whatsoever. They used something called exposure sheets. I won't go over that in here, but just know that an exposure sheet was a way of getting the timing down, and the method that they used was basically a vism, where they have these vowels. Like, for example, the whenever a character has an ah sounding or I sounding word or syllable, they would make the face take on this shape. You have the e, which is stretching outwardly and has a definitely very parallel teeth. You have the o and u, which are very different. And then you have all the consonants where your teeth are almost touching your lower lip. Woo, you can blend that one in with the oo to some extent. It's just a smaller oo. MBP is a very common shape that you use often for anything that needs to have the lips pucker or come in contact. The F is the only one that's a little bit different than the MBP, because you have an actual. Usually, you have like the for cartoony, we add the teeth touching the lip for the f sound, or look, and sometimes the th with the tongue above touching the roof of the mouth is useful. So basically, here you have in this page of the book, You have an explanation of how they would break down these words. Hello Pete, fine day, isn't it? How are you? And for each one of these, they broke it down to which of these visemes they would use in order to animate that. And this is a very real. It's honestly a very accurate way of doing your animation, depending on the style. Like if you want to use facts for more realistic stuff, that's fine too. But Visemes works for if you're doing a cartoony character in particular. So what we're going to do here is we're going to take this character. I call him Emoticarl. And we're going to, set them up so that we can get some basic Visem controls in here. And purely this video is just going to be those kind of controls. Now, it doesn't mean you can't come in here and add, it's going to be blend shapes or key shapes or morphs, depending which software you're using for this video. But if you want to, there's nothing stopping you from putting in bones with influence and being able to add on top of the morphs for the facial expressions. You can add more stuff and more controls. Absolutely no reason why not. So I've gone ahead and I've created a whole bunch of facial expressions. Now they're grouped in a specific way because this is easier for me to show you this setup, and we're missing a lot of shapes, but this for the purpose of this video, we have plenty here, and we should be able to have a fair level of control still. So for the Visemes that we were talking about before, here are the main four that we will be using today. And I put them in this order because our controller will allow us to go four ways and four directions. And they're placed in a way that is opposing concepts. So for example, you have the E here. Remember this is the shape for an E that we had in that image, and the O. And in this case, it's going to be because of the nature of the character, an O and an U would be hard to see the difference. So we're going to be using basically the mouth is smaller here. It's further apart, but it's still very horizontal. And this is kind of like an opposing concept. Same thing with the ah, where the jaw is opening, and the p sound is basically the opposite of an ah if you think about it. So by having these opposing concepts on a single controller, we should be able to actually do quite a bit with it. And you'll see there's a lot of fun to be had with this kind of a setup. Over here we have a couple of facial expressions that I'll be punching in. For the most part, I'll just be focusing on getting the blink first and just seeing how that works out. And yeah, so let's go ahead and get started here. So I'm going to leave this open here, and we're going to be creating a control on this side for this character, and I'll try to use different methods as best I can to show you that there's more than one way to actually set up the controls for this. And also, there's one that's special that's been designed specifically for with the bacon strip in mind, and it's going to be a little plugin that is actually using the Maya API for Python. So that means that it'll work on Mac, it'll work also on any Linux systems. If you have Maya installed on Linux, it'll work on there. While I'm still creating alternatives to other OSs, in the meantime, you'll have something. At least we're already starting with some things that can work on just about any OS. All right, so let's say we want to have some sort of control for this, and quite often in a Maya rig, what you find is like some sort of panel that's floating off to the side that you can turn on and off in visibility, and allows you to control this. Okay, the first thing we need to notice is that I've set this up in front view, and the reason why I did that, other than yes, a character should be seen from the front, is also that it's an XY axis here, and this is like standard XY, where X is to the right and Y is up. That's what the front view in Maya is. Let's use that for this exercise. And if you were using like the top view, you just have to make a small adjustment to your control so that you get an XY axis control. But let's just use this this setup for now. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to create a bacon locator. Give it a second, PyMel's guide to load. Now, so this object now is an object that we're going to be using. First, we're going to just create a a box to put all of our controls in. So this will be like our root node for the box. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to switch it to, let's say, a square. Now it's off axis. So in order to fix this, you just have to rotate here. That is the local scale. Sorry about that. Hang on a second. Local rotation Y. Here we go. 90. There we go. Now we have something. Now we're going to use our scale to be able to make some sort of controller, which is going to have multiple things in it. Let's just put that here. I'm going to make it so that consistently it's like something like 40. 40 should be fine. We're going to be adding multiple controls in here. And I'm going to get rid of the ability to select inside because we're going to have stuff in here and we don't want to be fighting selections. So I'm just going to get rid of the solid visibility. So that means all the triangles are no longer, polygons are no longer visible. And by the way, if you don't have this plugin, it's easy. You just create a square shape, and you should be fine. Like one thing is for sure though, you do not want to be using the NURBS primitive square from Maya. The reason why is it's kind of ridiculous. Like even if you rotate this, let's see here. I think it's probably something like minus 90 or 90 on the X to get it there. So here you have a square. I'll zoom in because it's tiny. This thing, unfortunately, is not really a square. It's actually 4 lines. So let's get rid of that. We don't need that. Yeah, and it left some stuff that I need to clean up here. Okay. So let's, for now, if you're using a square, what you do is you go create curve tool with options. It's off screen. Here we go. So if you look at here, you have set it to linear. And now if you press X, it would allow you to snap onto the grid. And then, well, I screwed that up, but you get the idea. You'd be able to create a square, and you can then even edit these control vertices so that you can do that kind of thing and fix it like I did before. You can create something with squares. So just because I'm using the fancy bacon strip stuff doesn't mean you can't do it with any other means. What's important is that we understand the coordinates that are in here, and then those values will control a blend shape of some type. So all I've done here is I've created a square. We have an X and Y axis here, and the local axis of the visual, not the scale of the object, the visual has been scaled to 40. So it made a box basically, and we can even try to make this a little bit more accurate. Here we go. Hang on a second. Let's put this in a proper place. Okay, something like that. And let's increase the wire thickness of this one to 3, something like that. Yeah, that's better. Easy to spot. And maybe we'll change the colors later and that kind of thing. So what I'm also going to do so now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to grab this because it's already oriented in the right way. I'm going to create another little controller inside of here. And for this one, instead, well, this is way too big. So I just want to be able to do, we're going to start with just being able to do a little, like a controller for just making it blink, something like that. So let's see here. Let's do it this way. Okay, and let's see. That might be still a tad bit too big here. So scale Y, something like maybe a scale of 2 here. So it's too wide, and the length of it is going to be maybe 20. Yeah, so that way we can have 2 of these together, one side by side, one here, one there. Actually, what we could do is also grab this guy and make it slightly bigger. So let's make this 50 so that we could do something like this where now we have a little bit of space for another one. So I'm just going to place this here. I'm going to clean up some of these values. So I'm just going to put this 10. We don't actually see that in a square, but what I want to do is the local scale Z is the thing that controls this. So its starting point should be over here, and right now it's in the middle. So in order to fix that, all you need to do is go into here and put it to, I think in this case, you just put it to 20. And now we should have our starting point, our pivot point right there. And any child node that goes on top of this to be able to slide back and forth on it will be starting at 0 here and moving along that way. And right now I'm being very loose with the coordinates and placing it, so there's really, it doesn't matter. You can have a little bit of space to put even a little bit of text there, so you know that this is going to be the blink. You can do that through, when we're creating that later, you can use the type mesh and have a little mesh here with a word that says it. Maybe in the future I'll make a visual interface that allows us to write words without having to create meshes. But for now, let's use this as our. Let's just give it a name though. Let's call this the blink controller, the blink root, actually, because the blink value is going to be controlled by another object that we're going to put on here. So I can maybe duplicate this again. I do that by pressing Shift and sliding. That's new in my. Now you press Control D. In this case, we're gonna have to start getting rid of some of the stuff that we did. So let's get rid of the. Let's make the scale. Well, first let's figure out what shape we're gonna put here. You may have noticed that this has been improved. I've removed all the marionette parts so that they are separate. And now if you want a marionette part, you click on marionette and then you select which marionette head or foot or hand or whatever piece you want. That way this list is now cleaner. And I've added a couple of new ones like diamond and heart and so on. Maybe diamond might be good for us here. Let's just change the scales. So it's something like that. And we want actually a lot less than that. There, that's fine. We don't need all of this, like the wire thickness could be back to 1, and we could have some solid visibility here, maybe a 5% type of thing. And now we've got a little something that we can slide back and forth, like type of thing. So all you need to do is then, we'll like I said, we'll be changing the colors of this. Grab this object, press P. Now this object is child of that one. So if I look here, oh, somehow I managed to put it precisely in that spot. I don't believe it. So I'm just going to set all of this to 0, make sure it's good. Yep, there was a decimal there for sure that we weren't seeing. And this guy now has the translation of where it is, but the child object is inheriting. So now we can slide this from its 0 all the way to 40, which is the length of this little container that we've created for it. And we're just going to want to have it go back and forth on that. So what we're going to do is we're going to go into the attributes, and we're just going to limit it so it can't go too far. So let's see, limit translation. The minimum is going to be 0. Current, we don't really care because we're going to be playing with that. And the maximum is going to be, we said, I think it was 20. And then we're going to limit everything to 0 so it doesn't do anything other than slide along that path. Okay, we're just setting that all. Now if I look here, oh, I still need some more distance that I can travel, so 40. And now we have this shape that we can move from here to here. And that's it. That's all this thing does, and this is going to be the thing that's going to drive the blink, right? That's the first one that we're going to be setting up. And I'm going to be using different methods for a few of these, and we'll see what we can do with that. So let's say what we can do is, let's see if this is correctly placed. We are at 80, so it's out here. So that's clean. So that means this is child of this object, right? We should do that. So now, yeah. So this is where we we'll try to find some nice numbers. Maybe minus 50, 50. So that's right smack in the corner. So minus 45 and 45 should get us to where we want to go. Because later on we'll be duplicating these, and you can use whatever method you want to be able to control this. And we can even use the bacon locator later to create another one that, as you move this, it actually fills it up with the shape if we want to. But for now, this is pretty good. I think we're good to go, except for the fact that this is not named correctly. So we go blink control. Blink control is there. Blink root is there. And this thing should be called something. We're going to call this the Visem root node, or you can call it UI. You can call it whatever you want. It's up to you to set it up so that it makes sense for you. So all I'm going to do now is I'm just going to make it so that the display has some sort of, actually, just need to select the parent node. And we'll make it so that display wireframe color. We're going to make all this, I don't know, blue. Is that good? Yeah, it's clean and simple. Then later on we can make certain things like this one. We can go pink for that, so you can see it clearly as you move it from one side to the other. And then maybe we can fill this up with some other color, or maybe yellow. Yellow actually would pop a little bit more. These are, let me grab that, put it to yellow. That's good. Yellow is much easier and cleaner to see. So that's very good. And then maybe one other thing we might want to do is increase its size just a tiny bit, something like that. So you know where it is, easy to select, and you can move it along. Nice and easy. Okay, so always do a file save as you're working. Motorcarl whip work in progress 01. Just get into the habit of doing that, because things can happen. Okay, so now we need to, first of all, we're going to have to think about creating a blend shape for this to be able to actually activate any facial expression that we want. So what you want to do is you want to go into, let's see here, deform. Oh, actually, wait, no, it's under window. Okay, sorry. Sometimes I lose I usually create a button and then forget about it. So for now, we're going to go to Windows, Animation Editors, Shape Editor. And this will create a nice little window that will allow us to control all the shapes, all the blend shapes that are in the scene. And this object, now I'll create a blend shape. It's going to be called blend shape 1, but we don't like that. We're going to call this Viseme 1. Okay, so that's just the name of the thing that's going to contain all of the shapes. And then it's just a question of adding things. So let's say I select these and I right click on it and I go add selection as target. So now what you're going to find is if I move on the A, it makes an A. If you go on the M, it does the M, and so on. So now I'm just going to add the other ones. Just grab all these, go to select the Viseme, right click it, and go add selection as target. It's going to add all the rest. All right. So now what we can do is we can straight up just hide these things. We don't really need to see them anymore. Although we might want to reference this to know which one goes in which direction. So it doesn't hurt to just leave this open then, I guess, for now, and we'll focus on a Motorcarl here and this setup to be able to control it, so that when, let's say for this one, we're going to go to the where's the blink? Sad shape, serious. Well, blink. I have it selected already. So we want to have this kind of a blink, and we want this to be the thing that controls it. Now, I could use scaling on the UI to be able to make this value be 0 to 1 directly, and then you can connect that directly to the facial expression. However, for this example, I wanted to show that it's not really all that difficult to take whatever value is the coordinate here, and we can convert that 40 to become a 1 value, and it's very simple. You take the number, and you divide it by the maximum, which is 40. So 40 divided by 40 equals 1. If you had it at 20, like imagine you had it around 20 here, well, that's going to be a 0.5, meaning 50%. So the math is very simple here. All you're doing is you're taking whatever value this is on the x-axis, and you're dividing it by what you want is the maximum. And in this case, it's 40. So that's it. That's all you're going to do, and you're going to plug that value into the blend shape that's right here. Okay, so there are multiple ways of doing this. The first one I'm going to show you is basically a very old school method of doing this, and that's by bringing out another window under let's see here. It's going to be under general, I think. I'm looking for the expressions editor. Sometimes, it's good to. It's got to be in here. Expressions. I should have looked this up before. Yeah, I used it just a few days ago, and already I forgot where it is. Maybe it's under. It should have been under a general because that's a general thing. Script editor, conventional profiler. This is why I love putting stuff into buttons. So, but then I end up forgetting everything. I don't see the expressions editor. Let's see, under animation, might be under expressions there. Ah, here it is, expressions editor. Sorry for that, but at least this is useful for you because if you see me just going into the menus and finding stuff, you don't see the how I struggled with finding it because I may have memorized where it is or whatever, or had it in a button on my shelf and you can't find it. So it's kind of good that you see that because you see how I'm trying to approach the problem and see how I solve the problem. So another little window should show up. Here it is. And the nice thing about this is that we, with the expression editor, you have something called blink control already. And here whenever you select something, it'll show you what kind of attributes are there. And it'll help you be able to find objects. So in this case, because the expression editor, the blend shape sometimes is difficult to find, I'm going to deactivate the DAG nodes, and by doing that, a whole bunch of stuff just got shown. And remember, we called it Viseme, so it's right here. Now this is the blend shape, but that's this thing here, right? Viseme 1. So it's showing me all the things that are available. So now I can look at like in the list here the actual shape. So we're looking for the one that says blink shape, and it's right here. So it's telling me select object and attribute. I'm going to copy this. I'm going to paste that here. And then I'm going to start getting ready for this object. And this object is the blink control, and we want the translate X value. Oh, we lost the thing. Not a problem. At least I have blink control written, and it's easy for me to get back to Viseme and get back to the blink shape. And what we're going to do is we're going to grab that, put it over here, equals. And if I were to do something like this, where I take the blink control, translate X directly, and the Viseme blink shape, this is going to be a problem because the translate needs to be divided, right? So we just, because it's giving you 40, so we do just this type of thing with a little semicolon at the end because this is based on mel. So you need to do that. It's just part of the coding process. This system, the expression editor, was created this way. So Viseme 1 blink shape, the value of the blink shape, this one here, is going to equal whatever this value is divided by 40. So if I create that now, it should show up now because it's got an expression, so it's a purple color, which means now, and we're not going to be using expressions for the rest. I'll show you 2 other methods for this. And this is much easier now to animate because now I can just slide this thing and you've got a little blink, right? So that's sweet. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to make another controller. I'm just going to Control D. And this is on the Y, so maybe 25. Oop, not, much more than that. Here, we're going to put this one at 40. And we can just decide what we want to have on this one and give it a proper name. So let's say I want to have maybe a smile. This one's kind of fun. It's kind of a serious, but almost because it's asymmetrical. If you know the Pollockman thing, it's a bit of a sneer kind of thing where it's I forgot the word for it, but basically it's one of the emotions that's asymmetrical and allows it's like mocking type of thing. It's not necessarily mocking, but it's like it doesn't believe you type of thing. So we can grab this serious one. And we can decide to we can make this slider be the serious shape, and this time we're going to use the node editor to hook this up. So again, what we can do is with a node editor, I'm just going to right click here, node editor, it's going to pop up. I've selected the Viseme, right? The blend shape thing called Viseme 1. And if you have something in your node editor and you want to clear it up, I like calling this the Etch-a-Sketch because it kind of reminds me of an Etch-a-Sketch and you're shaking it to clear it. So you just press that button, it'll clear whatever's on here. Now remember that the node editor has there's two concepts here. You're just making objects that already exist in the scene show up in the node editor so you can connect things, okay? And this is actually one of the really amazing strengths in Maya. The have a node editor is actually something extraordinary. And if you've used any engine that has this kind of stuff built into it, this is a good practice to get used to these kind of systems. All right, so a node editor is really handy to be able to change values on things and make things control other things and so on. And it's good to know how to use this stuff. So I would strongly recommend getting to use the node editor. So all I'm going to do is I've selected the Viseme, and I'm going to press the one right next to the Etch-a-Sketch. There's a little plus sign one, which is going to bring out this object. Now, if the object doesn't show up like this, maybe it shows up like this. I have it set so that it always gives me the most amount of info. Like there's these little burger symbols. This controls how much of this is showing up. So if you had it small, just make it a little bit bigger. And the section that we're going to be interested in, this is the blend shapes. Remember, the weight section is the thing that controls things. And we should already have something here for the blink. So because we only made this show up, we don't see the other things that are connecting to it. So if we click on this little button here and have this selected, it will show us everything that's connected to it. And there's a lot of stuff in here, but this is the one we're interested in. And we can don't delete them, just press the minus sign here to get rid of it. So we don't really need to see more than this. This is the expression that we just created, right? And the output value, if we select it, we can actually see quite a bit in what's going on here. But you have to use the expression editor really to see the expression and everything that's there. But at least you know that this is another way of how you can go find the expression without having to go in here. At this point, we can really just go DAG objects only again, and that way we're just seeing the objects. And we're going to shift click this so I can see the hierarchy. That reminds me, we have names to change. But anyways, the point here is that you have a Viseme here, blend shape control, and the value for the blink shape is being driven by this expression that we created just before. All right, so that's the big takeaway. But now what we're going to do is we're just going to go grab this object. Right, this is the new controller. And maybe we should take this time to actually rename this. We said this was the serious control. And we're going to change this to, so it's a serious root. That's the box that the control lives in. Serious root, right? No consistent naming. We're doing capitals in the right place, lowercase and others. Not so much here. Hang on a second. It's always good to keep a consistency. You can always later write scripts that do things and so on. So anyways, point is, we're going to grab this object and we're going to say add it to the node editor. If you get more stuff, like you getting the blend shape and stuff like that, there are options in the that you can turn on and off. So only the thing that you selected is showing up, or if it's the shapes get included or not. That's all in the options. So if you're seeing those, you can just press the minus sign on the things we don't need. We just need the thing that has a transform that you selected. And we have the translate here. We're going to take the X translation like we did in the expression and do the same thing that the expression's doing without having to do the actual expression, because expressions are a little bit antiquated and I don't know if they are really benefiting from the optimizations that Maya has been receiving. So one of the things we remember is that we can't just take the value, we need to actually divide it, right? So in the node editor, when you press tab, by pressing tab, you're going to get a little thing that shows up that you can type in. And I'm going to look for something where we divide. Now, if you don't have the divide that's here, it probably means you don't have Maya 2024.2 specifically. I found out that that's the thing. And all this is doing here is that I have the attribute editor here. I can grab the translate X and click and connect it here. And then in here, I can say divide by 40. And that's it, done, right? But if you don't have this, you can always grab the other divides that do kind of the same thing, except remember that the AI divide that comes from Arnold, believe me, that's not something you want to be dependent on, because if you look at mental array back in the day, we had mental array nodes in Maya, and they're gone. They don't exist in Maya anymore. So, just keep that in mind. They take some of these away after a while. I might just write my own nodes like I'm going to show you in a minute. One of the nodes I created, and make basic ones that will never leave Maya type of thing. And then there's another one that's been with Maya for a very long time, which is a multiply divide, but it's not really that user friendly. So you're going to notice that you're always getting a vector, and so you'd have to punch it into the first one, and then select here, and then over here in the x-axis, you can pick whichever one you want. You divide by 40, and then in the output, grab the first one, like basically the x value, and that would work too. So let's see, that's the serious shape. So if I look here, this would work. Whoa, maybe not. Divide by 40. Yeah. Let's see here. Did you get a better result? Let's see here. Okay. So I'm probably missing something here. Let's see. The value of the translate's going into this one, and the output should be on this one, and it's dividing by 40. It should be just fine. Okay, so there's definitely something wrong. Oh, I know what it is. It's multiplying. You have to set it to divide. Sorry about that. But yeah, that's the problem with having the one controller that does everything. It was actually multiplying by 40, which is the opposite of what we wanted. So here we go. Now it should be fine. So either one is okay. You can use either one, but like you just saw, that kind of sucks. So I'd rather have the real, like, something simple and easy to understand, like that one. So if you have to use this, know that you have to set it to operation divide in here, and you can use, you have 3 spaces where you can do, like, this could be useful for doing multiple shapes at once, and then you just connect the correct one. But it's kind of ugly, to be honest with you. This is much neater. It's a single node. And if you have a lot of these little nodes all over the place for all these translate, it makes it actually even easier for the multi-threading, because it can go to multiple of these nodes. So this is not bad. This is nice and clean, and you're getting your serious shape. And now we have the ability to do this and also blink at the same time. But careful when you do that, because now you're blending shapes together, type of thing. There's limits to, sometimes if there's too much of this motion here in the eye, and you maximize both of them, that you're getting a very actually, this is great for exaggerating a shape. So that's neat. So now what we're going to do is I'm just going to minimize this to be able to see what we're doing, and I don't think we really need this anymore. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to set up something that allows me to control all 4 of them at the same time. So what we can do is, keep duplicating these things. Yeah, okay, why not? Well, we can just I'll press Control D, and now we're going to have this Visem control, but it's going to look very, very different. And in this case, I'm just going to move it somewhere like around here. And we're going to have to do that thing where we decide how big the box is, because this is going to be a box that goes in 4 directions. So in this case, this would be another 20. Yeah, something like that. This is plenty of space to be able to animate what we need here. The thing is, though, that would be 0, so we need to put that there and have no offset here. So that's nice and clean. And something that we can do with bacon shapes, which is nice, to add an extra shape to it. What you can do is you can select so that we can have a grid, so we know where the 0 is. So if we select the shape here, and you go to the plus shape, the golden bacon here, you can add a bacon shape on top of the one that's already there. And now we can switch it to this one will be, hang on a second. I'm going to make this bigger and activate shapes. So now what you're going to see is the root node and then the shapes that it has. So in this case, we have a shape that is the square, and then we have another shape that we can barely see because it's set to box and it's probably really tiny. So I'm going to set it to locator, and I'm going to change its local scale so that it should be set to 20. Here's where you can, decide what color it is and all that stuff. But for now, we're good. We're good to go. We're good to go. And maybe instead of a little diamond this time, let's have some fun. Let's make a little heart. Let's get rid of that. There you go. So now you have a heart that you can move around. And this one's still stuck on this value. So we're gonna have to change this so that we can move on the other axis and get a negative value as well. So all we do is go into the attributes. And then over here where we had the limit, we're going to set this one to 20 on the x-axis and minus 20. And then now we should be able to move to the extremities. But we also want to be able to move up and down. So that would be the y-axis. So we have minus 20 here and 20 here. And that's it. So now this object lives inside this box because its values are set to be no more than the shape's size on X and Y. And that's that. So nice and easy. And we can reset, we can just zero these values out and we're good to go. See? So nice and easy. All right, so now we need to set these so that they control these. And it could take a while to set these up. So also we have to deal with the negative. The negative is not a big deal. Using something called a clamp. A clamp is just a mathematical utility or tool that will allow you to say this value cannot, just like we did with the limit here, with the where we can put it, where we said you can't go beyond minus 20 and 20. The same thing can be done mathematically, where we say the value here, cut it off if it's anything higher than this value. And you do that with the negative value, so that there's no negative value that gives you the thing that you want. So in the old days, I'll show you one of the Visemes expressions I used to do. So something like this would have been a deal like where you clamp the value and then you divide by the length, and in some cases the negative value. So if you had a negative value, it would make it positive, and the clamp would bring it from between 0 and 1, right? So the clamp's always there to make sure it stays between 0 and 1. So in this case, we would have had something like this in expressions, and that would have done the trick. And then we can do that with nodes as well. We could do that easy enough. The clamps are the same thing. So, but because we are fancy and we have our own plugins and all that stuff and all that goodness, and this is something that we can do. What I'm going to do here is, we can hide all this. Don't need to see this. There we go. So here we have the one where we did a node. So a value like this one where we divided. Bless you, little buddy. I don't know if you could hear that, but my cat just sneezed. Poor little guy. He probably drank too much water and it got in his nose. So what you could do is you could create, like when I was talking about the clamp, you could do it through here. See, you have a clamp, and a clamp is very simple. You just say, if you open up the attribute editor, you can just say what the minimum and the maximum is. So if you do something like this, it'll give you, again, just like the other node. You don't need to set the minimum value. You just grab whatever value you want, you punch it in here as the input, and then you just say never leave the 0 to 1 scenario. So never so you divide the value, and then you'd output that value in there, and that's it. That's pretty much all you would do. It's really straightforward, but we are fancy, and you can I encourage to do this any way you want. But we're going to actually load up the plugin manager. It already opened because I'm using a Wacom tablet to do all this. And then we're going to go into something in here that we're going to load from here on. It's called Bacon Viseme. And this is going to be a very, and I'm going to auto load it. So every time I open up it's just going to load it up. It's nothing much. And these are so far we've only used stuff like bacon shaped bones and shape lines and the Bacon Viseme. We haven't used all the other ones yet, but we're going to load this one up. And now that should show up here. So that we can do bacon, and you'll see that the 3 things that we loaded are available. It's going to create this thing, which is going to be really handy. And now we just need to have this object over here drive the things that we want. So by just selecting it, I'll be able to add it by pressing the plus button. Now I have this other node that showed up. I'm just going to put it down here for now. And that's not a serious control. That is the incorrect name, but we'll fix that in a second. Its x-axis goes to the x component. The y-axis goes to the y component. If you had set up something that was, I don't know, from top view or something like that, you would have to set it to whatever's on the right, whatever goes up and down. That's what you would plug into here. But in this case, it's super easy. What you see on the viewport is what you're going to be using here anyways. So you're connecting the translate x to component x, translate y to the y component. And the only other thing that you need to worry about is, just like the other things, we tell it what the scale is. So Viseme in this case is going to be a scale of 20, meaning 20 is the maximum we want to go. It's going to do the division and everything for us. So now all we need to do is decide what's up, what's down, what's left. All right, so that's easy enough. We had it solved over here. We want, let's start with the what's, okay, so here in the order, it's down. Down is the shape because it's like you're pulling down the jaw. So we'll go for the M, that's going up. That's easy enough. The E is on the left. And the U, or O shape in this case, because it's an emoticon, you can get away with it. For this one, it's going to be fine for what we need. That's it. You've done all the. This would have been a lot of nodes to get get this to work. So here it's a nice and easy thing where you just use this thing, plug in where the values are, what the scale is, and boom, you've got all of them being calculated for you. I'm just going to move that out of the way. We're going to test it now. We're going to grab this thing. And fun fact, if you middle click, because sometimes grabbing it here is far away from where you want to be, you can just middle click and move it so that way. So basically we got the U, the E, these are opposite concepts. We have the and ah. So you could go, wow, or something like that, or anyways, so you get the idea. With this kind of like little control, you can actually get a lot of things done. And if you are even brave enough to use an exposure sheet to get your timing pre-calculated as to which frame is which, this is a good way to get your animation going. Like you can have a character that emotes and can do lip sync quite well with this method. Yeah, you can do a lot of stuff with this. And if you even had an Xbox controller, if you bring this into a game, this is kind of what you would set up on one of the sticks if you wanted to do real-time puppeteering. I've done that in the past. It's actually a lot of fun to do that kind of stuff. And having a Viseme control, 4-way Viseme control for most of the lip sync, you can get a lot done with stuff like this in real time. And then you could have other buttons that kind of do this thing type of deal. But anyways, if that's not your thing and you want to really have accurate animation, just animate this normally and you're good to go. So with this kind of a setup, I think you should be able to get your character to speak, and you don't need to have the facial expressions like I mentioned with this. If you really want to, you could have, you just put bones into the face and you'd be able to sculpt the expressions. That's what a lot of people do. The only thing that was left to do really here is to add all the other ones. It's just more repetition, and then the naming of some of these objects would have to be fixed up. But for the most part, you'd be in business with this kind of setup for whatever you need to do. All right, so that'll wrap things up for facial controls. I hope you enjoyed this one. Um, it's a lot of fun to set these up because you can start messing around with it. Like seriously, like if I wanted to, I was actually considering doing lip sync with this. It's actually doing lip sync like this is really, you can do it pretty quick. You can get some lip sync done pretty quickly, and it could be nice. You can put that on the bottom of your demo where you're talking over what the shots are to explain what you did in what shot, and that would be an actually really nice little demo for animation. And just using an emoticon, I mean, everybody likes a good emoticon. All right, so like I said, this wraps it up. Hope you enjoyed that.